Today in geometry in lesson 3.2, let's revisit the vocabulary words from yesterday's lesson in 3.1. We talked about two lines, A and B, being cut by a transversal that we will call T. When that happens, we get four groups of angles: corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, same side interior angles, and alternate exterior angles. Let's take a look at which angles fit which of these categories. Corresponding angles. Corresponding angles have corresponding positions. For example, angle 1 is in a corresponding position to angle 5 because they are both in the top left-hand corner of their groups. So then we can say that angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding angles. Okay, the other corresponding angles that we could use would be angle 2 would be corresponding to angle 6 because they are in the top right-hand corner. Angle 3 would correspond to angle 7 because they are in the bottom left-hand corner. And angle 4 would correspond to angle 8 because they are in the bottom right-hand corner. The second set of angles that we want to look at are alternate interior angles. Now remember, interior angles are on the inside, on the interior of the two lines A and B. So just by saying interior, we know that we're referring to angles 3, 4, 5, and 6 because they are on the interior. Okay, alternate means on alternate sides of the transversal. So if we look at angle 3, it is alternate interior to angle 6. Okay, it's on the interior of A and B on alternate sides of the transversal. The third set of angles we want to look at are alternate exterior angles. The exterior angles are on the outside or the exterior of A and B. So those exterior angles would be angle 1, angle 2, angle 7, and angle 8. So if we look at angle 1, it would be alternate exterior to angle 8. Angle 1 would be alternate exterior to angle 8. The other set of alternate exterior angles would be angle 2 to angle 7. The final set of angles that we will look at are the same side interior. Same side would be on the same side of the transversal. Interior would be on the inside or the interior of your two lines. So if we are looking at angle 4, then it is same side interior to angle 6. So we would say that angle 4 and angle 6 are same side interior angles. The other set of same side interior angles would be angle 3 and angle 5. Okay, now let's add a little bit of information to yesterday's lesson. Okay, we had two lines A and B those two lines were cut by a transversal that we called T. Now let's add in that these two lines A and B must be parallel. Okay, when you see the little red arrow on the lines that looks like this, okay, remember, I'm not an artist, so we'll do the best we can with my drawings. Okay, when you see those two little red triangles on them, that is going to indicate that the lines are parallel. Now, when the two lines are parallel that are cut by a transversal, then we have a whole new set of rules. We still have the four groups of angles that we were talking about, but now we can add some things that we know about them. Okay, the first set of angles that we talked about were corresponding angles. Okay, if we have two lines that are parallel, and those two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then there's a postulate called the corresponding angles postulate that says that corresponding angles will be congruent. That means that angle 1 corresponds to angle 5, which means that angle 1 and angle 5 would have to be congruent. We also know that angle 2 corresponds to angle 6, so if A and B are parallel, then angle 2 would have to be congruent to angle 6. Angle 3 is corresponding to angle 7, so if the two lines are parallel, then angle 3 must be congruent to angle 7. Then we know that angle 4 corresponds to angle 8, and if the two lines are parallel, if and only if the two lines are parallel, then angle 4 has to be congruent to angle 8. Okay, now this is only true if A and B are parallel. If it doesn't tell you A and B are parallel, then these statements cannot be proven true. The second set of angles that we talked about were alternate interior angles. Okay, if you have two lines that are parallel, now remember the lines must be parallel, and parallel lines are denoted by the little red arrows. Okay, if those two lines are parallel and those lines are cut by a transversal, then alternate interior angles must be congruent. Okay, so alternate interior to angle 1 would be angle 4. So angles 1 and angle 4 would be congruent. Okay, the other set that would be congruent would be angle 2 would be congruent to angle 3 because those are alternate interior angles to each other. So if and only if the two lines are parallel, when those lines are cut by a transversal, then alternate interior angles are congruent. The third set of angles that we talked about were alternate exterior angles. Okay, so let's see what happens when the lines are parallel with those. Remember that parallel lines are denoted with red arrows on them. Okay, so this is denoting that lines A and B are parallel. We have the transversal T. Okay, it's cutting those two parallel lines. And now we have two sets of alternate exterior angles. So if the lines are parallel, they're cut by a transversal, then that tells you that alternate exterior angles are congruent. So angle 1 would have to be congruent to angle 4 because those are alternate exterior angles. And then angle 2 have to be congruent to angle 3 because they are alternate exterior angles. So if two lines are cut by a transversal and the lines are parallel, only if the lines are parallel, then alternate exterior angles are congruent. The fourth and last kind of angles that we've looked at were same side interior angles. Okay, so if we have these two lines, one more time, A and B, and they are parallel, and parallel lines are denoted by the red arrows, and they're cut by transversal T, then we have two sets of same side interior angles. Okay, angle 1 is same side interior to angle 3, and angle 2 and 4 are same side interior. Now, this is a little bit different. Same side interior angles, when the two lines are parallel, are supplementary. Now, let's take a minute back and let's see, what does supplementary mean? Supplementary means that two angles add together to equal 180 degrees. So what does that mean for this? That means that angle 1 plus angle 3 has to equal 180 degrees, and also angle 2 plus angle 4 must equal 180 degrees. So if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then same side interior angles are supplementary. Now let's apply a little bit of what we've learned. If we are trying to figure out what x is in this diagram, and we have that line A is parallel to line B. We know that because of the red arrows. And those two parallel lines are cut by transversal T. Okay, let's figure out what we know here. We know that angle 4, right here, is vertical to this angle right here. Okay, we know that vertical angles are congruent. Therefore, we know that angle 4 must equal 115 degrees. Okay, that's great information. Okay, let's plug that in right there. That is 115 degrees. Now we know that angle 4 and the angle that has the x plus 5, those are same side interior angles. And from the postulates we just learned, we know that same side interior angles are supplementary. That means when you add those two angles together, they must equal 180 degrees. Okay, so we know that angle 4 plus x plus 5 must equal 180 degrees. Okay, well we know that angle 4 is 115 degrees, so let's substitute that in. 115 plus x plus 5 equals 180. Now we'll combine like terms. X doesn't have anything to go with it, so that's x. 115 plus 5 is 120. That equals 180. Now to solve for x, we will subtract 120 from both sides of our equation. And so that leaves us with x equals 60. Let's look at one last example. We have these two parallel lines, A and B. Once again, we know they're parallel because of the red arrows on them. And we are given that this top right-hand angle is 150 degrees. And we are looking for what angle 1 and angle 2, what their degree of measure would be. Okay, what do we know about this angle right here with respect to angle 1? Well, they are corresponding angles. Therefore, we know that angle 1 has to equal 150 degrees because corresponding angles are congruent. Okay, then we also know that angle 1 must equal angle 2 because those are vertical angles. We could have attacked it that way with the corresponding angles postulate. The other way that we could have attacked this problem is to say that angle 2 is an alternate exterior angle with 150 degrees. We know that angle 2 would have to equal 150 degrees because it is alternate exterior to it. Okay, we can use all the postulates that we learned today, the 4 postulates, for any two lines that are parallel and they are cut by a transversal. But they only work. They work if and only if the two lines are parallel. If the lines are not parallel, then none of these statements will be valid. You must make sure that the two lines are parallel before we can use any of these postulates.